Here's a question almost everyone gets wrong. How much do you actually need to retire in the UK? You've probably heard the scary numbers, £500,000, £1 million. And for a lot of people, that simply isn't true. The real answer isn't a magic figure plucked from the air. It depends on the life you want, the state pension you'll get, and a couple of simple sums you can do yourself. In the next 10 minutes, I'll walk you through exactly how to work out your own number, step by step, in plain English. No jargon, no scare tactics. Let's get into it. The first mistake is starting with the pot. People ask, how big does my pension need to be? When the real question is, how much income do I want each year in retirement? Get the income right, and the pot size falls out of it almost automatically. So forget the £1 million headline for a second. Think about the life you picture. The bills, the food shop, the odd holiday, running a car. That annual spending is your target income. And helpfully, in the UK, we have a really useful benchmark for what different lifestyles actually cost. That's where we start. Every year, the Pensions and Lifetime Savings Association publishes the Retirement Living Standards, 3 pictures of retirement based on what people actually spend. The first is minimum. This covers all your needs with a little left over for fun, but no car and only modest holidays in the UK. For a single person, that's around £14,400 a year. For a couple, about £21,600. It's a no-frills floor, not a goal to aim for, but it's a useful baseline for what a basic, secure retirement actually costs. The middle picture is moderate, and for many people, this is the realistic target. It gives you more security and more flexibility. A small car, a foreign holiday a year, a bit more on the weekly shop, and the freedom not to count every penny. For a single person, that's around £31,300 a year. For a couple, roughly £43,900. If you take one number away from this video, the moderate standard is the one worth circling. It's what most people actually mean when they picture a decent retirement. The top picture is comfortable. This is more luxury and more freedom. Regular holidays abroad, a newer car every few years. Generous money for hobbies, eating out, and treating the family. For a single person, that's around £43,100 a year. For a couple, about £60,600. It's a lovely target if you can reach it, but don't let it put you off. Most people aim somewhere between moderate and comfortable, and even getting to moderate puts you in a strong position. Pick the lifestyle and you've got your income target. Now for the bit that changes everything, and that the scary headlines always ignore. You will almost certainly not be funding that income entirely on your own. The state pension does a big chunk of the heavy lifting. From April 2026, the full new state pension is about £241 a week. That's roughly £12,500 a year. To get the full amount, you generally need around 35 qualifying years of national insurance and at least 10 years to get anything at all. For most people, that £12,500 is a guaranteed, inflation-protected income for life. It's the foundation you build everything else on. So here's the key move. Take your target income and subtract the state pension. What's left is the gap your own savings need to fill. Let's use the moderate standard for a single person, £31,300 a year, minus roughly £12,500 from the state pension. That leaves a gap of about £18,500 a year that your pension and savings have to provide. Suddenly, the problem is much smaller than fund my entire retirement. You're only funding the difference, and that's a number we can turn into a pot. How do you turn a yearly income into a pot size? The simplest rule of thumb is the 4% rule. Or, the same thing flipped around, the times 25 rule. The idea, if you withdraw about 4% of your pot in your first year of retirement, then adjust for inflation each year after that, your money has historically had a good chance of lasting around 30 years. Flip it around and it's even easier. Multiply the annual income you need from your pot by 25, and that's your rough target. It's not a guarantee, markets vary, but as a back-of-the-envelope guide, it's brilliant. Let's put it together for our single person aiming at moderate. The gap we needed from the pot was about £18,500 a year. Multiply that by 25 and you get a target pot of roughly £465,000. Now, that's a meaningful number, but notice it's nowhere near $1 million. And that's for a comfortable, moderate lifestyle, on top of your state pension. Aim at the minimum standard instead, and the gap is tiny. The state pension alone gets you most of the way there. For couples, the maths gets dramatically friendlier, and this is the bit people miss. A couple usually gets 2 state pensions. That's around £25,000 a year of guaranteed income between them before they've touched a penny of savings. Take the moderate couple target of about 43,900, subtract roughly 25,000 of combined state pension, and the gap is only about 19,000 a year. Times 25, that's a combined pot of around 475,000 for 2 people. Shared between a couple, a perfectly moderate retirement is very achievable. So how do you actually build that pot? There are 4 levers. 1. Time. Money invested early compounds for decades. Starting in your 20s or 30s does far more heavy lifting than bigger contributions later. 2. Your contributions, paying in more, especially via a pension, gets topped up with tax relief. 3. And don't skip this, your employer match. If your workplace pension matches your contributions, that's free money. Take all of it. And 4. When you retire. Working even a couple of extra years gives your pot more time to grow and fewer years to fund. Small changes to these levers move your number a lot. A few words on tax, because it's friendlier than you'd think. Normally, you can take 25% of your private pension as a tax-free lump sum. Beyond that, pension income is taxed like any other income. But you still get your personal allowance, currently £12,570 you can receive before paying any tax. Here's a heads up though, the full state pension is now within about £20 of that allowance. So as the triple lock pushes it up, more pensioners will start paying a little tax on income above it. Worth knowing, not worth panicking about. Once you've got the pot, how do you turn it into income? There are 2 main routes. An annuity is where you swap some or all of your pot for a guaranteed income for life. Simple, secure, and you can't outlive it. Drawdown is where you keep your pot invested and take money out as you need it. More flexible, more control. But you carry the investment risk and the risk of taking too much too soon. Neither is automatically right. Many people do a blend, an annuity to cover the essentials, drawdown for everything else. The right mix depends on you. Now the honest caveats, because this is your money. The times 25 rule is a guide, not a promise. It assumes your pot is sensibly invested and real markets go up and down. Inflation eats spending power over a long retirement, so your pot needs to keep growing, not just sit in cash. People are living longer, so planning for 30 years or more is wise. And the order of good and bad investment years, especially early in retirement, matters more than you'd expect. None of this is a reason to despair. It's a reason to start early, save steadily, and review your plan every few years. You might be thinking, that's the pot, but how much do I actually have to save each month to get there? This is where time does something close to magical. Because your money is invested and growing, you put in far less than the final pot is worth. As a rough illustration, someone starting in their late 20s can reach a pot of several £100,000 by saving a few £100 a month. Because decades of compound growth do most of the heavy lifting. Leave it to your 40s and you'd have to save 2 or 3 times as much each month to catch up. The lesson isn't save a fortune, it's start now, even if it's small. And if you feel behind, most people do, so don't panic. You have more levers than you think. First, check your state pension forecast on the gov.uk website. You may be able to fill gaps in your national insurance record by buying back missing years, which is often astonishing value for the income it adds. Second, make sure you're getting every penny of employer match and tax relief. That's the cheapest growth there is. Third, even delaying retirement by 2 or 3 years dramatically cuts the pot you need because you save for longer and draw it down for less time. Behind is not doomed. It just means start today, not tomorrow. So let's recap how to find your number. 1. Pick your target income using the living standards, minimum, moderate, or comfortable. 2. Subtract the state pension, around £12,500 a year per person. 3. Multiply the gap by 25 for a rough pot. That's it. That's your number, and for most people it's a lot less frightening than the headlines suggest. the single most powerful thing you can do is start early and grab every bit of employer match and tax relief going. If this helped, subscribe. 1 UK